Show you primarily how to bathe the brass instruments. I'm not going to demonstrate on a tuba because they're huge, but I've actually had students do this same thing with a tuba at home in a kiddie pool in their backyard.
That's awesome.
Or if they have a gigantic tub, they could do it in their tub. So although I'm not going to be using a tuba, you could certainly do this with a tuba. You wouldn't want to do this with a French horn because of the strings and the felts involved, but I'm going to be showing you basically how to clean a trumpet or a trombone, and then a lot of the same lessons can be applied to tubas or horns. Just don't soak the horn. Flutes, clarinets, and saxophones. Do not ever give your instrument a bath. Ever. They hate water. We want to keep them dry. So you're going to get to watch today just for grins, but don't ever do this. Now, the first thing you need is a tub full of water. And I do this in my bathtub at home because it's easier. But here in the band room, we've got this wonderful big sink. So you just want to fill it up with water. And I've got water going, and it's got the stopper down in there. And I like warm water, the kind of water that I would use to wash my hands. When it's really cold, when it's really hot, but when it's like, that's how warm I want my water, just like that.
That's cold when you put it like that.
By the time it got to you, it was, but it's warm going in the sink, I promised. And then I want to take just a little dish soap, the kind that you put in your sink in the kitchen. And this will work for me today. And I don't want a lot because I don't want bubbles. I just want a drop. So I just put a drop of soap in there just to make it a little bit soapy but not foamy. I don't want a big old bubble bath and candles and soft music, no. Just a little foam on top. While that's filling, no interruptions. Ooh, 7th period, did you hear that? No interruptions. Now, I like to take an old bath towel. And I don't have a bath towel here, but does that look familiar to you? I've got some of that nice squishy rubber foamy stuff here instead of a bath towel. And I like to lay that down on the bottom of my bathtub. That protects the bottom of my bathtub, and more importantly, it protects the pieces of my instrument. You're going to want to check with Mom or Dad before you grab her best, favoriteest bath towel. You're going to say, you got an old one, and even a little hand towel. So I've got the water going. I've got the bath towel in there. Now the first thing you do is you take your instrument apart. Trombones, this won't fit in the sink, but obviously you can pull the tuning slide out, and, well, we'll have to get that fixed, won't we? And you even separate your inner and outer slides. Did you see how gentle I was with that when I pulled it up and pulled it apart? Because if I get the slightest little nick, scratch, or dent on either one of these pieces, they won't fit together right anymore. And when I'm playing my trombone, it'll be like pulling taffy. It'll be way too much work. So when you have these pieces apart, be even more cautious than usual. So you've got those 4 pieces of your trombone. You've got your tub full of water. Down they go. All right? Now I'm going to set that aside because it won't fit in my sink. And I'm going to be very gentle, lying that down there, no bumps. And we're going to talk about taking the trumpet apart. You have 4 slides. Tuning slide, and it fits. And then you have 1 slide that goes into each of your valves. You've got this little bitty one here that came out of the 2nd valve. You've got this longer one here that came out of the 1st valve. And then back here, you've got, I left one in for you so I could show you. What you want to do when you pull your valves out is you want to push the valve down first. That releases the air pressure. And then your valve slides, or your slide comes out really easily. And that's going to go down in the sink on top of that little squishy thing. Now, all 3 valves, and this is where I get really careful. 1, 2, 3. 1, in the middle, 2, and over on the right, just like it is when I'm looking at it, 3. 1, 2, 3. I don't want those to go in the water. those actually have felt. That little bit of green felt in there. Felt doesn't like water. So I'm going to leave those out here. 1, 2, 3, and then my whole trumpet, down it goes. I'm going to walk away and leave it for 15 minutes. Okay, bye. Whoa, 15 minutes later. Here we are again, all right? This is where the fun comes in. This is where you get to use the brushes. There's one brush that you really need, and they make these real long for trombones and not quite as long for trumpets. This is called a snake. Can you see why this is called a snake?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's a trombone snake actually because it's really long. I'm winding it up instead of unwinding it. But it'll work on a trumpet too, okay? And they make these with different coatings. I've got a white plastic coated one in there. It doesn't matter as long as it's a nice flexible coil with 2 brushes on the end that you get at a music store called a trumpet snake or a trombone snake. And when my 15 minutes are up, I'm going to pull out my pieces, and I'm going to take that snake, and I'm going to clean the inside of every single piece. Now this one's kind of fun, because if I'm patient, I can poke it in one side, and here it comes, out the other. And then I'm going to pull it clear through. All right? I'm going to look in there and see if it looks good. Oh, that still looks almost right. Okay, good. Okay, yeah, good. And then I'm going to put it back down in. And I'm going to do that with every single piece. Now, the snake won't slide through all of the pieces. For this slide, it's not going to go around that tiny little loop, so I'm just going to clean one end and the other. All of my slides, and then I'm actually going to do my trumpet. Now, this is where you have to be careful not to get water all over the floor. All right, I'm going to shake it out here over the sink. This is the most important part to clean right here. This is called the lead pipe. And most of your goo, trombones, that plays right past your mouthpiece. Most of your goo gets stuck in the lead pipe. If I hold that up and look into the light, I see little bumpy, clumpy things in there, and I want them gone. So, in one side, out the other. Pull it straight on through. All right, and I look up again. Ah, yeah, nice and smooth. I'm going to take the snake, and I'm going to work it into each little opening. I'm going to clean all of the openings. If there's an opening, I'm going to put the snake in it. I can even put the snake into the bell a ways and get it into this crook here and clean that. All right? If you'll save your questions till the very end, I'll answer them then, I promise. And then I'm going to put this down. And I'm going to take my valves. I'm going to hold on to the felty part. I'm going to put my fingers around the felty part. And then I'm going to rinse them off and use my hand just to clean them. And I'm going to be really careful with the valves because they're like that trombone slide. Any little scratch or nick or dent, and I've got a valve that won't work. So I'm going to be really careful, and I'm going to keep them in the same order. Do you know which one this one was?
Third.
3. Good for you. You were watching. And I'm going to rinse all of those off and clean them off really well. I can even take my snake and clean the ports or the openings of my valve. If I see goo in the ports or the openings, I'm going to use that snake to clean it out. Now, there is another brush I have here, and if you have a trumpet care kit, you might have one of these. This is a valve casing brush. Do you know what the valve casings are? Yeah, you know? I'll pick my trumpet back up again. And again, this is not necessary, but it's nice. It fits exactly down inside the valve casings, so I can get those really clean. I think I've washed everything here, so I'm going to get another dry bath towel, which I don't have because I'm at school, not in my linen closet. And I'm going to turn my bathtub on. Again, nice warm water, not too hot, not too cold. And I'm going to rinse everything, because you remember we had a little soap, right? So I want to rinse everything out, all the openings. Do you see how careful I'm being, trying not to bump this against any metal while I do this? Because I've got some dents on my trumpet, and I don't want any more. And I especially don't want to dent the places where two pieces fit together, because if I dent those places, they won't fit together anymore. So let's say this is where I put my clean, dry bath towel, and I'm going to set my trumpet or my trombone right there. And then I've rinsed everything out. I've got it all spread out on this towel. The only thing left to do is grease and oil and put it back together. Now this is how we avoid getting slides stuck. All right, I'm going to dry that off. And this isn't oil, because oil's liquidy and falls right out of the bottle, doesn't it? I'm even squeezing and hardly anything's coming out. There's one little drop, but it's not even falling to the ground. It's really thick. So I'm going to take that one little drop, and I'm going to draw a circle of it around the edge of the slides. It doesn't take much. It takes the tiniest little bit, and this is grease, tuning slide grease. And I'm going to put that on each one of my slides. Whoops, sorry Mom. I just got water on your floor. I'll clean it up, I promise. All right. And what I'm going to do, you see the way I'm working that grease all up and down the slide so that it gets really coated? Both sections. And when I've got it on both sections, then I'm going to really carefully line up my slide. And this is where it gets tricky. You've seen me do this with some of the trombones before, because you have to kind of jiggle it and get it started just right. And there it goes. I'm going to do that with all 4 of my slides. Then you remember my little 1, 2, 3 valves that I've rinsed off, right? Uh-huh. I'm going to take a little oil. I'm going to oil it generously. I'm going to put it back in where it goes. Now I'm lucky, and most trumpet players have this. Right here, there is a little number 3. So even if I've gotten out of order, I'm lucky, because I know that one's got a little number 3 etched right there. You can check yours and see if it does or not. I've got the oil on there. I'm going to work that oil up and down and all around. Turn it in until it clicks. Tighten it up. I'm going to do that with all 3 valves, check them and make sure they're working good. And there's another little brush that comes in the trumpet care kit that looks like this. Mouthpiece brush. Mouthpieces are great because I can use soap and water, or if I want it minty fresh, I can use toothpaste. Seriously. I don't have any toothpaste here today, but I'm going to show you how much I don't worry about this. See this plain old school soap? Right? Plain old school soap. Just going to rub it all over that mouthpiece. I'm going to take my nice skinny mouthpiece brush and I'm going to work into the mouthpiece shaft. I'm going to clean it up. And you know, sometimes I play my trumpet when I've got on lipstick or lip gloss. Ew, because then the inside here gets all pink. So I'm going to make sure I get all the pink out of there. And I'm going to use the brush in here too. And I'm going to get it all cleaned out. And then all I have to do is rinse it really well, because I don't want that soap in my mouth, right? But don't you wash your glasses and your spoons and your forks with soap?
No.
Yeah. Whoever said no, I am not coming to your house for dinner. I wash mine with soap, some kind of soap or detergent. Rinsed out really well. Dry it off. Rock and roll. And again, I can hold it up to the light, and I want the inside to be smooth and shiny. I don't want to see bumpy, crumbly stuff in there. I want it to be smooth and shiny. And there you go. The things that I have done with the trumpet are the same things you would do with the trombone. Running the trombone snake through all of the slides. You would grease this one. You remember the grease I used? The really thick grease? Would you grease the other one?
No.
No. What do you use on the playing slide? The really slippery liquid oil. All right. And that, my dears, is the lesson on how to give your trumpet or trombone a bath. Thank you, Mrs. Walters.